Another thing they don't put in the brochure is the lack of public restrooms. Oh my goodness, that is a challenge. Look, you better hold it. You better bring a diaper or a cup or something, because you can't find a public facility in New York City.
Warning: SirRodCast can lead to an array of side effects. Symptoms like nausea, vomiting, explosive diarrhea, sudden distaste for previously loved foods, and an inexplicable headache might emerge, persistently nagging like a bad song stuck in your head. Prolonged SirRodCast exposure, you might find yourself breaking out with rashes, skin blisters or peels, or developing a sudden wheeze, all of which signal a red alert. In such cases, halt all consumption of SirRodCasts and seek immediate medical attention. SirRodCast is not for the faint of heart. Proceed with caution and always keep your healthcare provider on speed dial for any unexpected misadventures.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce you to one of the nation's most exciting entertainers. He is the former creative director for So Deaf Recordings. He has one of the best-selling artist development books, The 10 Commandments of the Stage. All the way from Atlanta, Georgia, put your hands together for the Star Maker, Mr. One-Man Show, Ollie Patterson's baby boy. Give it up for Sir Rod Patterson.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of the SirRodCast, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same dang time. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys out there had a wonderful Father's Day. I think Father's Day was just past Sunday, June 16th. Or was it June 17th? But I hope you guys had a wonderful Father's Day. Now, for myself, I had a wonderful Father's Day. I did something a little different. Me and my manager, AKA my wife, we decided to do something a little different. We went to New York City. I celebrated Father's Day in New York City. Now, my manager, she loves New York for some reason. And it's not the shopping. She just loves New York. I don't get it. Both my sons can't stand it. They think, oh, they can't stand New York. I'm indifferent. I'm either, I can stay there for a few days, but then I gotta go. Now, one thing what they don't put in the brochure about New York, and one thing me and the wife grossly underestimated, because this was our first time there without my daughter. My star child lives and operates out of New York. She's there for a lot doing her filming of the TV show, the Elizabeth, but she wasn't there. Filming is over, and so she's out and about doing her thing before she has to come back to New York. So me and the manager was there alone. It is our first time being alone, so I decided to do all the tourist things that people do in New York. Times Square, Grand Central Station, the Brooklyn Bridge. What else I wanted to do? Central Park, and that's about as far as I got. Because one thing they didn't put in the brochure, if you have an aching toe, swollen ankle, your hip hurt, or you got bad knees, do not, and I repeat, do not try to do the New York thing, because it is a lot of walking, all that stuff they don't put in the brochure. All the walking. Oh my God. Now the subway system is off the chain. I mastered it. I took it as a challenge. Now we could have Ubered everything, but I wanted to feel the real New York thing. And I'm a subway connoisseur. When I first came to Atlanta, I mastered modern. When I first came to Atlanta, that's all I took, the train from College Park downtown Atlanta, where I was working at the Hilton and Towers there. So I'm not afraid of the MARTA, and I know how to operate. I know how to get on the train, and I know how to recognize. I mean, I've gotten really good at recognizing crazy almost at a glance. I can tell when someone is, all the cylinders ain't firing. And then I know how to operate, to adjust. So we're in New York. Subway system is pretty immaculate. They got trains everywhere. But what they don't tell you, once you get off the train, there is a massive amount of walking and walking and walking. And then once you get to where you're going, then you got to walk in and walking and walking back. So it was a lot of walking. The manager threw in the towel the second day. She couldn't take it no more. So then I ended up walking the Brooklyn Bridge, which she wouldn't have made it. The only reason I made the Brooklyn Bridge walk was because all these mornings, I'm an avid jogger. I get up and I jog 3.5 miles every other day. And the days when I'm not jogging, I'm walking a couple miles. And then after that, I'll go and rehearse for an hour. That's jumping around in my music room, practicing my Motown show and getting ready for the Blues Doctors thing. So that got me in pretty good shape. But even that was a challenge for me. I walked, my smartwatch said, "Are you working out?" And I said, "No." I decided to start timing my walk. And I was almost at the end of the bridge at that point. By the time I stopped my watch, when I got back on the train, I had clocked almost 4 miles. And who knows how many miles I did before. I think that whole day I did it. I know I had to do close to 10 miles walking. And I'm not exaggerating. Another thing they don't put in the brochure is the lack of public restrooms. Oh my goodness, that is a challenge. Look, you better hold it. You better bring a diaper or a cup or something, because you can't find a public facility in New York City. But overall, we had a wonderful time. The food was great. We stayed in Chinatown, Flushing, New York. And the people there were just amazing. The food, the weather was perfect. So, yeah, all in all, I had a wonderful Father's Day, and I hope you guys did too. With that being said, we're going to our very first segment of the day, which is a new segment of the day, and that is relationship talk. Yeah, relationship talk. This is a new segment. I decided since the last episode of the SirRodCast, I got a pretty good response. I was talking about J-Lo and how I was puzzled how a beautiful woman like that can never keep a man, and how my mother's advice was, it's easy to get someone. Hard part is keeping them. And that goes for a lot of women. You could say that for Halle Berry and all the other ones out there who just, you would be puzzled why they don't have a man. I said at one point I wanted to write a book on relationships because, I am been in some kind of relationship for going on almost 40 years. I think since I was 13, and I've been, this year, come September, we've been married 29 years. And before that, I was in a relationship for 4 years. And before that, I was in a relationship for 7 years. So I've been in some kind of relationship for, since I was 13. And I say it before, and I'll say this again. That's not a brag. That is basically, I think I'm codependent. Some people are just not meant to be alone. And I'm one of them. But in those many, many years, I've learned a few things. And one thing I learned, what I'm going to share with you, what I picked up in New York. And this is some advice to ladies. Ladies, I can kind of help you figure out a good guy from a bad guy. And there's some red flags. I saw one specifically on the subway. I was by myself heading down to Brooklyn Bridge. And I saw a couple. They both had dreads, and the guy was sitting down. They were sitting down on the subway, and they were holding hands. And you could tell they were so in love. They were even kind of dressed alike. It was cute. But I can tell you right now, that relationship is not going to work. It's not going to work, and I can predict it right now. And ladies, I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm going to tell you the secret. These are one of the red flags. You got to look out for little things, because little things will tell you about a person's character. While we were on the subway in New York, you know, the subways get a little crowded, and I guess people get a little jaded, but I don't care how jaded or how tired you are. Some things you just can't put aside. I don't care how tired you are. Why I say this relationship won't work is there was several little old ladies standing up, holding on to the rails. Train just going. This guy steady, holding this girl's hand. He saw the old women and the women and pregnant women standing up, and not one time did he get up and offer his seat. I immediately gave my seat to one of the old ladies, and then my kindness spilled over to another guy who gave his seat to a younger woman who had 3 kids. They've all sat down and took his seat. And I joked with him. I said, "Hey, you got 3 for 1." And then he smiled. You know, chivalry is not dead. But that guy did not budge. And she's steady holding this guy's hand, and they so in love. That kind of selfishness, that kind of self-centeredness, I don't know what it is, bad upbringing. I don't know what's going on, but it was a lot of that going on in New York. Not only New York, I see it happens a lot here in Atlanta. I don't know in other subway systems, but I would bet that pretty much the same spirit runs rampant, where guys are not offering their seat to a woman who's standing up. Now, I understand if it's a guy who has a foot problem, or you're sick or something, or you're an old man or something like that, that's understandable. But this guy wasn't lipping. This guy was in perfectly good shape. As a matter of fact, he was a younger man. He couldn't have been no more than about 28, 29 tops. My mother would have beat me half to death if she would have caught me doing that. So, ladies, indicating if you ever out with a guy and y'all riding anywhere and he don't offer his seat, that's a red flag. Matter of fact, if he don't show chivalry to you, pulling your chair out, the old-fashioned stuff, opening your door, common sense stuff. So that's my advice, ladies. Be aware, this first red flag, chivalry is not dead. I guess my generation is just cut from a different cloth. I don't know. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the next segment of the program, and that is, it's time for the good news segment. Oh, I got one of those feel-good stories, and sometimes I think divine intervention story. Today's story is about a Carissa Fisher. She's a preschool teacher who in Western New York, man, New York is on the roll today, who's donating part of her liver to a former student, a 5-year-old Ezra Tazek. I messed that up, but little Ezra, who has end-stage liver disease. Now, the story is he was going into liver failure, and they put him on the list of people to be able to get a liver. And weeks went by, and nobody was matching, or there was no time is of essence, and there was no match. And unbeknownst to Ezra and his adopted mother, they didn't know that his preschool teacher had quietly put her name on the donors list. And then they ran the test, and lo and behold, it was a perfect match. Oh my goodness. Now, like I said, that's kind of like divine intervention. Out of all the people, his preschool teacher, who had it in her heart, which is not a normal thing anyway, to donate a part of her liver for her student. and it was a perfect match. So to Miss Carissa Fisher, you get, yeah, that is awesome. That is totally awesome. I love feel-good stories like that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the good news. And I wish Carissa Fisher and Lil Ezra all the luck, and we'll send prayers up for them. And I just hope that God works his miracles and does his thing in that case and bless that whole situation. Good job, Carissa. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the next segment of the program, and that is Blues News. Yeah, Blues News. Blues News is going to be short, simple, and sweet. I'm just going to report. I got an inbox from Mr. John Knox. Sir Rod and Blues Doctors. Part of our Blues Saved My Life tour. July 18th at 6:30 p.m. 6 Bears and a Goat. 1140 International Parkway, Fredericksburg, Virginia. Sir Rod and the Blues Doctors will be in the house. This actually be our second time there in Fredericksburg. We always have a good time. Real nice facility, and the people are off the chain. Oh, I got a video clip of a guy just busting into a dance. They like to party in Fredericksburg. But yeah, Sir Rod and the Blues Doctors, 6 Bears and a Goat. And that's all military. I think it's Navy. Yeah, we're going to be there in town. So Fredericksburg, you better get ready. If you've never been to a Sir Rod and the Blues Doctors show, you have no idea. I always say that. You got to see it to believe it. So make sure you get there early. Don't meet me there. I say beat me there. And I'll see you there. Oh, we're going to have a good time. See you there July 18th. That's right around the corner. I'm ready to go now. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the last segment of the program, and that is...
The views expressed by Sir Rod and his thoughts are not necessarily the views of this organization, channel, the state, county, or anyone else in the world. Furthermore, the advice given is not to be used as legal, spiritual, or for exorcisms. Please consult a lawyer or rabbi for legal or spiritual advice, and for exorcisms seek a Catholic priest.
Just my thoughts. Yeah, this is the last segment. Just my thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had some time on my travels to kind of sit down and think about things for a second, and I apologize in ahead of time how my mind works. You know, I try to tell people some things you can't put in a box. That's why I'm not worried about anybody copying. They can copy a lot of things I do. My artwork, my dance moves, even my singing style. But one thing they can't copy is my thinking style, my thinking. You see, that's what separates certain preachers and motivational speakers. A lot of people get caught up on the delivery of the words, the elegance of the flow, of the vernacular. But that's where they get it wrong, because it has nothing to do with the words. It's the thinking behind the words. It is basically creative thinking, not speaking. And I've been blessed with a gift to kind of think out of the box and think about things. I guess that's the gift of dyslexia. I've been wrapping my mind around these days. These days seem these troubling times, and everybody seems to have a spirit of frustration. You know, I was riding in the car. We got picked up by an Uber coming back from the airport in Atlanta. It was kind of late. Our flight was delayed, and we were in it was a nice little Uber ride back. And the Uber lady that was driving us was kind of complaining about prices and complaining about this and complaining about that. And she's not the only one. There are other people I talk to when I go to nursing homes and assisted livings, and the coordinators are complaining about this and complaining about that. And then if you look at television, they're complaining about this and they're complaining about that. And So it seems to be like a troubling time. But what's more troubling to me is seem like things are kind of like a reverse mirror. Yeah, a reverse mirror effect. That basically everything is opposite in what they should be. You know, when you look in a mirror, you're not really seeing what you think you're seeing. Everything is flipped in reverse. And that's how I think this particular time in this season in time, because I don't believe everything lasts. My dad used to say, because it ain't going to always be drugs. Ain't going to always be drugs. It's not going to be, there was some rough neighborhoods in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Florida, where I'm born and raised, where I wanted to buy a house one time, but it was just drug infested. And my dad told me some advice, and it didn't make any sense because I was younger then. He said, Rod, you should buy the house because it ain't going to always be drugs. Ain't going to always be drugs in that particular area. And lo and behold, about 20 years later, there's no drugs in that area. Matter of fact, that same house I could have bought for $5,000. That's all they wanted because it was drug and $5,000. Now that house probably go for $200,000 if I would have bought it. So there ain't going to always be this season of confusion and frustration. But right now, this season that we seem to be in is a mirror reversed season. And one of the indicators is when I look at the news, in one of the top of the lines, when you have right fighting for wrong. I mean, that is crazy. When you know that wrong is dead wrong, but someone that's right, righteous, justice is fighting for the wrong, making an argument for the wrong, saying, I know it's wrong, but still, I'd rather go with the wrong than be right. That is one indicator that we are in one of those awkward seasons where we are just blinded with selfishness, blinded with our own agendas, regardless of what our lying eyes are telling us. You can see the truth, but refuse to see the truth. I did a video one time, and this is the message that I'm gathering for you guys out there, because if nothing else with my podcast, I would like to be useful. And so I don't want to bring you stress, and I don't want to pick any political sides, left, right, green, yellow, purple. That's not the purpose of my podcast. But one thing I want to do is bring ease of mind. Is I read a book, and the book I read said that the good guys are going to win. I read it. The beginning said Genesis, and then the end was Revelations. And in the end, unless I'm mistaken, y'all clear it up for me, but maybe somebody can write in and let me know that I might have misread it, but I think it says in the end of that book that the good guys win. So no matter what you see, no matter what they say, no matter how low you think things are going, the good guys will win eventually. Wrong will not triumphant over right. Right can't go to wrong, and wrong can't come to right. It just, I don't care how you try to put lipstick on that pig. Wrong is wrong. At the end of the day, two wrongs don't make a right. This is a peculiar time that we're in. Oh, where the youth is disrespecting the seniors, and there seems to be a lack of common sense, and black ain't black, and white ain't white, and green ain't green, and that you're not allowed to say this or say that. So this is a peculiar time that we're in. I don't want you to be upset. Don't worry. Good guys gonna win. And some of my religious fanatics out there, they feel they need to help God. Y'all feel you have to help God. It is mandated. My friend said, religious thumping Bible friend said, you gotta help God. God, it is mandated you help God. That is all man foolishness. God don't need our help. Not one iota. is nothing. Once God sets something in cement, it's set. He don't need it. The rest of this stuff is just man foolishness. God don't need our help. How much help did a newborn baby helps his mother once it's born? How much help did you help God to get in your mother's womb and to take air in your lungs? How much help did you help God to set the earth in the right position from the sun and to put oxygen and water and to create all this life? How much help did man do to help God? Foolishness. The energy behind the people call themselves helping God is all money, greed, and power. That's it. They'll manipulate the masses for their own hidden agendas. But at the end of the day, God don't need no help. I think God sits back patiently and just watch. And at some point, he'll say enough and stop it. But until then, you don't have to worry. God don't need our help. All my religious fanatic, I don't care what your religion is. God don't need your help. You ain't got to go blow up, shoot up, or try to condemn your brother man, trying to make them do something you think in your mind is right. If it ain't right, God will fix it. Some things just set in cement. He don't need our help. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I got to close today's presentation. Now, don't get mad. This is just my thoughts. I might be right, might be wrong. Just my thoughts. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I got to close this thing out. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your attention. But most of all, I want to thank you for listening. You've been a wonderful audience. You didn't have to, but you did. You gave me just a little bit of your time, and I really appreciate it. But now what I need you to do is cut off whatever device or whatever thing you're listening to. Cut it off. And I need you to go out and find something else better to do. And once you find it and do it, let me know what you did. And then maybe we'll discuss it on the next podcast. All right, you guys be blessed. Be safe out there. And no matter what, the good guy's going to win. You keep stomping. Peace.